Hello everyone, how's it going? How's it going? Thank you for joining me on a new episode, maybe the final episode of summer season of Inside Fnatic's Brush. I am still your host, Matt Scott, and welcome back to um, week 2 of group stage, leading into the final week of playoffs, which will determine our third champion of the 2023 season. We're going to discuss about all of this in just a few seconds. Going through our regular schedule of talking about the LEC, the four best of threes that happened in the first playoffs game, which had XL versus G2, and what I must say was an unexpected banger of a series. I'm sure a lot of people had sold XL short, but they definitely surprised everyone, I think, in their performance. Into Fnatic and their very, I'd say, convincing 4-0 weekend facing both Mad Lions and SK. We'll talk about this all in details with our usual reviews of the game and predictions, the final predictions of the split. I was saying, last episode of the season, obviously if Fnatic make it into the regional finals, whatever it's called, regional playoffs, there will be more episodes, as this one takes a bit more of the usual format that we've had in the past years with the 6 seed, top 4 into winners bracket, bottom 2 starting into losers bracket, and the finals in Montpellier, which I will be at. So if you guys are there, we might cross paths, which would be pretty cool. So let's jump right into the action with the LEC. Let's have a look at the tables, the games, where we have Team Heretics Group A coming out as winners in a 2-0 versus Koi and BDS. Group B, same kind of scenario, Fnatic 2-0 versus Mad Lions, 2-0 versus SK Gaming, and G2, while being the winners of their best of 5, came very close in a 3-2 game. We'll obviously start with the Team Heretics games, which, while I think it was expected of them to win against Koi, I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to win against BDS for a few reasons. I would say BDS did look a bit better going into the final weeks, and were the ones to beat Team Heretics in their first appearance, if I'm not mistaken. Have I this confused? I don't know why I'm questioning it. I'm pretty sure that was the case. Yeah, it was a 2-1 victory, but still the wins from BDS were definitely much stronger than the ones from Team Heretics, who were fumbling a little bit here and there. If we look at it from one game to another, going into their game against Koi, Koi kinda in the same fashion didn't look too great. Now, albeit they did face G2 in the first phase of groups, so going definitely against the strongest competitors of their group. While they, did manage to force on the early game from G2, the advantage acquired wasn't that great, where it looked like G2 was in danger at all. Quite the contrary, you could say that um, G2 easily made it back into the game from the small advantages that Koi had gathered, and easily made it a 2-0 game. Now, me personally, I was expecting a bit of a closer game. Team Heretics versus Koi, a lot of back and forth. Either it'd be froze, it'd be one wins a team fight, then the other team wins a team fight, and there was like no clear domination from one team to another. It's a bit what we had in the first game for Team Heretics versus Koi, where in the first game it went, what is it, 17 18 minutes without a kill, and a very stagnant kind of situation with, I think it was a pair of turrets taken from Koi and a slight gold lead from them. So it wasn't really a null situation where there's like no kills, no dragons, no turrets. There were still some objectives taken in favor of Koi. And after the first kill happened, it's not like there was an avalanche of kills. Like, this was the trigger to finally bring in some action and accelerate the game. The tempo kind of stayed the same, where it was more about objectives than really forcing kills, forcing team fights. And what's quite surprising is that, while Team Heretics are the ones to finally sort of open the counter and get that first kill, it was actually Koi in most of the game who was ahead in terms of objectives and kills. And as the game went on, the goal disparity between two teams was going in the advantage of Koi, where there was like a 4k 5k advantage. And quite surprisingly, it was Koi making the mistakes and not playing the team fights properly, where, well, there's a few things. There was Evi getting a good bunch of flanks on his Renekton, but there's also that bait around Baron where Team Heretics has no reason to win that team fight in the first place. Like, Koi with the gold advantage and the situation where they're in should be winning this. And Team Heretics, maybe in a sense of hubris in that moment, definitely managed to make the difference and not only win the team fight but win the Baron. So they just catapult their gold to even, and then snowball it to an advantage during their Baron power play. So that was quite a surprise, because it looked for the good first half of the game that Koi had the better macro. But when it came down to team fights, I don't know if it was miscommunication, a lack of understanding of the strength of each member, but Team Heretics definitely had the better plan going in, whether it was, again, Eli getting the flank, or Yanko's going for a steal. Like, at one point, I believe it was in the first game, where Koi does manage to get a couple of kills, but the dragon is already secured, and Koi has the gold lead. So my question is, why are you waiting for that dragon to be secured before starting the attack? Because when they started the offense, Team Heretics couldn't answer, because Koi was so far ahead that they were gonna beat them no matter what. So they don't engage the whole time, and once the dragon is out of the cards, this is when Koi decide to jump in. So that was quite surprising, to say the least. And then again, Team Heretics just play the rest of the game properly, and that's something they've done well across their 4 games, is that the moment they manage to snatch a lead, they manage to keep it and not throw it back. So, it's a bit dangerous. And it was dangerous, obviously, for Koi here to give away their lead, as they did, and allow Team Heretics back into the game. Because, if I scroll back to when the first kill happened, it was an easy 2k to 3k lead for Koi. 2 towers advantage, didn't have to spill any blood. One Drake each. And then the moment they fight for the third Drake, Team Heretics are all like half HP somewhat. And it's only then that they decide to go in. Managed to get 2 kills quite easily. And that was it. And it's very curious to see that these things happen over and over. Again, you go at the, I'm just going in the 28th minute here. I'm seeing a 5k goal difference. Koi is ahead. And who's winning the team fight? Team Heretics. Good flank from Evi. Despite having Larsing in the late game. And they get the Drake for free. 5k goal difference. And they don't make anything of it. And going into the second game, this time Team Heretics are the ones who are leading the charge and having a much better game overall. So, it's a case of Koi squandering their opportunity to secure a win on the first one and completely giving it away to Team Heretics. And Team Heretics playing much better, and the second game much controlled from start to finish, and just securing a comfortable 2-0 when Koi coming into the series looked definitely better than they did the previous week, which I guess isn't hard because they faced G2, but they look defeated already going into the second game, and despite coming out with the Quinn in the first game, which was definitely an interesting pick, they definitely didn't manage to put the pressure on the map. And in the second game, that wasn't even a question, because Team Heretics just took the lead straight away. I think it was 20 minute game, and I was quite surprised by the game from what's his name, from Evi, who didn't die in lane against a Gnar, especially Shigenda's Gnar, who's pretty decent, who took the losing matchup on the chin, didn't go like crazy behind, and instead was able to create opportunities for his team, and obviously as you have a Ornn into your team, you get the augments and you double that late game insurance with those augments, obviously. Very good game of Rail as well by Mersa. Just a good draft, to be honest. It feels like any team that's gonna have their hands on Rail, whether you put it on support or jungle, is given a strong advantage already. If you add that with the Ornn on top, it's just so many avenues of engage that you have in hand. You pair that with Exaya and what's her name, Ari, which have a proper front line to deal the damage and navigate any skill shot, any dives onto them through their mobility, and you definitely put yourself in a great situation to not force yourself to make mistakes, to make the game happen, and have, I think, definitely safer team fights overall. there's a good fight by Koi by trying to, catch people off into side lanes who are out of position. Notably, VTO at one point in the top lane, gets caught by Marang and Shigenda. Shigenda tried his best with the how do you call it? The gold deficit, but the the bounties. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. And I think he had like 2k, 3k advantage on the Ornn, but the value of the Ornn in the augments is where he really shines. So in the end, the 2.5k disadvantage that Ornn has, he gives it to his team with the augment. So as he goes from one level to another and provides more augments, then it doesn't really matter if he's a couple of thousands behind. His team is definitely getting the advantage with those items. So very, very clean game, I'd say, from Team Heretics in their second attempt. And a much more convincing showing than their previous week and on their beginning of week 2. What's funny is that going into their second pair of games against Team BDS, it definitely felt like the same scenario. It's like if I had to go into the details of the games against Team BDS, I feel like I would be repeating myself. His first game the same. The Team Heretics opponent plays super well, gets the advantage. Then they go to fight for a neutral objective, and they forget how to team fight. It's crazy. The moment it happens, Team Heretics come back into the game, and they're the ones snatching the Baron, securing the team fights, and you just question what's going on. Is it Team Heretics that just has the better team fight? Or does Team Heretics sort of completely manipulate the brain of their opponents into losing their minds? Because if I take it roughly to the same point in the game where Team Heretics got the first blood against Koi in their first game, which is around the 17th, 18th mark. The game state for Team BDS is, how much is that? So pretty much a 4k gold lead, 2 towers to 0, just like Koi at the same moment, and the majority of the team has a gold lead except for mid lane, because the only kill that Team Heretics has is on VTO, and VTO has a slight CS advantage. But apart from that, top lane, massive gap. Adam has almost 2k advantage on Evi, who again is playing the Ornn, so like I said, not too worrisome as he gets his item later into the game from in his team. The Samira has a 1k gold advantage as well for the jungle, which is surprising, seeing that Jankos is playing Trundle, which is much more early game focused champion, so you would expect him to have that lead and be able to allow his team to gain those gold advantages. But not the case here. BDS winning majority of the fights, just like against Koi, get the first Baron, 3k Baron power play. It's exactly the same thing, but as you go forward, BDS just get baited into the Baron, Team Heretics secure the Baron, and they win the team fight. It's copy paste Koi game, and from that point onwards, Team Heretics control the game, use their Baron, push, control, the map. I can't remember if it goes into Dragon Soul. I don't think so. I don't think it goes late enough. But it's the same. It's even the gold. They take a late game team fight, get a second Baron, close the game, and voila. It's exactly the same. And what happens in game 2? Again, this time Team Heretics doesn't let BDS take the lead at the if we take the same timestamp. And this time Team Heretics are the one that are ahead with 3k gold lead around 20-minute scoreline. They've got 3 Drakes into the 25th minute, and they close the game much faster. What was that? Below 30 minutes? Just like the game against Koi. So, I don't know if there's a warm-up part for Team Heretics, but it's very funny that both of their game have a similar pattern where they sort of give the ball to the enemy in the first game and they're like, okay, what can you do? And are we able to beat you with that advantage? And then they completely scan them in that first game. And into the second game, they have the right elements to play there. And, VTO played some good games of Ari and of Kaisa. He's a big fan of the Static Shift champions. And, I'm quite surprised by Evi's performance as well. He got some good flanks in the game against Koi. Held his lane against Adam, who's usually, a bit of a brute who's looking for the solo kill. And instead, Evi got a solo kill against Adam. So, definitely very good performance, Team Heretics. I'd also say an underperformance from BDS where, Nuclear wasn't there, Adam wasn't there, and it felt like Shio and Cranny were kind of left on their own. So very complicated games to play for them, definitely. But congratulations, Team Heretics. Double 2-0 week. Impressive. Very impressive. Looking at Group B, obviously, Fnatic going 4-0. We'll talk all about this in the segment, but close games overall for Fnatic, where they've made some mistakes, which we'll look into details a bit later. But still, I will say a double 2-0 scoreline does bode well when you look at the level we were playing at during the first week of groups. So improvements have been shown by the team, 100%. And it's all about playoffs now for them. But again, we'll talk about that during our Fnatic segment. We're going to close the LEC part with the banger of a best of 5 that the G2 versus XL game was. I'm going to repeat myself and say that everyone was expecting G2 to win. You had even someone in my chat come in last week saying there's no way that XL takes a single game from G2, and XL did better. They took 2 games and they almost took 3. The games were quite polarizing from one another, I'll be very honest, because the first game, G2 absolutely demolished XL. Like any offensive attempt from XL was met and put down immediately. Like there was a 2v2 in the bot lane where it looked like Patrick and Limit had the better of the exchange, and in the end, Hansama comes out with 2 kills. It was very weird. It felt like the series was just going to be XL coming short the whole time, where their attempts were decent, and you definitely felt like they're trying to make something happen, but it just wasn't going to happen. It's just G2 was the way better team, way stronger, Caps was wrecking havoc on his Nico, especially in the first game. You're like, well, yeah, it's G2. What can you do? It really looked like it was going to be a 3-0 game. Instead, XL had a much better answer going into the second game, and they looked like a team where G2 brought out their patented Kog'Maw Braum combo, which has been a nuisance during the regular season. So, very good performance by Odawane on his Gnar. But most of all, Abadage, who's an absolute menace on his Jace. He definitely was a big game changer here. With a 3k 4k gold advantage. What I did like from Excel in this game is that they weren't scared on pressing the accelerator button. Sometimes a bit too much. They try that dive on the third turret, the tier 3 turret on the top side, and gave away a bit of shutdown gold to G2, which is not something you really want to do because these guys are definitely able to come back into the game. It was a 10k gold lead for XL, but you still need to be very careful. G2 has that capacity of coming back into the game. So, nonetheless, XL didn't take it too far. They managed to close the game below 30 minutes. A lot more engage potential, especially with the Alistar from Limit, on which, at least from what I remember, and I always qualify it for being Limit's top champion from the times where Limit was much more regular in the LEC. I always have a memory of him on his Alistar and being able to win those games. The story of the series was just these boxers punching at each other back and forth, and when XL had an answer, then G2 answered back. Third game, it's like the Kog'Maw Braum lost. We'll just bring it back again because we're that confident in our pick. And when it gets going, Has has free fire, and you give him that front line with the Braum, with the Maokai, and he's free shooting. That's perfect for him. But it was definitely a game of Abadage's Jace versus Hans Sama's Kog'Maw. Previous game, Abadage's Jace prevailed. This time, it was Hans Sama that won them the game. I think his final scoreline was like 10 and something or more. It's as soon as he gets his free items, the on hit just becomes very hard to handle. You can have the Nautilus, you can have the Sejuani. If he stays untouched, then forget about it. But yeah, fourth game, same story. XL answering back in kind. Much better map presence, definitely, as well, because G2 was kind of... It felt like they were answering to XL's tempo, when usually G2 is the one to apply the tempo here. But there was there one team fight around Baron and mid where Patrick came from behind and just played that super well. Very good performance from him. Reminds everyone why he's been one of the top ADCs in the league for such a long time, and that actually converted into a Baron afterwards. So from that point onward, XL plays super well. Just does a little mistake in the mid lane, but doesn't screw everything up. XL, managed to use their wallet, use their teamfight advantage. Maokai doing big things, especially into smaller spaces. And yeah, big game from Excel once again. You have to praise them really for what they were able to accomplish. And even if G2 won the 5th game, it's a case of a late game situation where this time the Kog'Maw was paired with the Milio, which gives him augmented range. And it's a bit of a shame because Excel was doing so well the whole time. Like, they managed to take the advantage this game, despite a bit of a shorter range team comp, a comp that has to go into the Kog'Maw with the Poppy, the Trundle, and the Braum. The Azir pick works and it doesn't work in the sense that it has to be to either reach the Kog'Maw in the backline or just shuffle him into your team, because you have to prevent him from just unleashing that artillery and subjugate him immediately. So Excel kind of manages to do that most of the game, where Hans isn't allowed to really unleash. But the moment he hit free item, it doesn't matter anymore because the damage gets dealt straight away. So it doesn't even need to build up. It's just shoot. And this is what happens with the team fight around Baron. I think it's around the 28th, no, 30th minute, something like that, where they just funnel in, and he just two taps the Trundle and the rest of the team, and there's no one to stop him because they get shredded even before they can set up anything. So G2 ends up winning this game because Kog'Maw gets his items, just fires into the team, and there's no one to stop him. No clear CC. You got Emilio to increase his range. Elder Drake into the late game, and voila. G2 just close it entirely. So congrats to G2, who has a straight spot into finals, and the final week will be Team Heretics versus Fnatic for the first game. Semi-finals will be against Excel and the winner of the previous game, and the winner of semi-finals goes into G2. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 best of 5s in a row. It's gonna be a complicated one for whoever reaches finals in that one. And hopefully that's Fnatic, who has shown clear I'm gonna repeat my title, clear improvements going into these 2 best of 3s in 2 ways. First of them is playing more meta picks and playing them correctly. We saw some Jace, we saw some Tristana, we saw some Rel, we saw some Rumble, and that makes me very happy, very, very happy that we're able not only to pull off those champions, but execute them to their strengths. And that is the story of these 2 best of 3s. On top of, I'd say, reducing some of the mid-game mistakes. There's still some, but not as much where we just give them for free, right? So, much better execution, much better map presence, much better laning phase as well, with some solo kills or some good lane advantages. Noah isn't just left alone and try to fend off against a dive and has to give away like 2 or 3 turret plates. On the contrary, he's actually being enabled to get that gold advantage in most of the games. So quite happy with that, definitely. And let's have a quick look at those games. if you will, if I can find it. That's the one. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Going into the first game against Mad Lions. What I like here is that we have a good mix of engage and disengage, which is great against Ari and Rel here who are looking to go in, and we're not just reacting to Mad Lions draft, which is a bit what we're doing against SK. It's like, oh, SK is drafting heavy engage. We have to draft disengage, and when we try to be proactive, then we don't have the tools because it's like, well, we have to wait for SK to go in. But SK is just scaling, and then when they were stronger, they execute, and we're not strong enough to disengage and answer SK's firepower. So here I'm seeing some Maokai, some Ornn. There's a good little wombo combo to root them and then hit them with the Forge God. Disengage with the Braum and the Xayah pick here, and Humanoid who can participate in this poke with the Jace in the mid lane. Mad Lions definitely has a scary combo with the Rel and the Rumble, who's also a very strong pick here. You pair the Melio with the Ashe, who can just batter these arrows at a long distance. Ashe already having a good long range already in her kit, and can also provide extended engage with her ultimate. So a bit of trouble in the beginning of this game as... Wait, am I watching the first? Yeah, no, sorry. Sorry, I'm confusing with the SK game. Much more dominant game from Fnatic, who plays to their strength, which is having a strong early game. Oscar is giving a lot of leeway here to fight against Chasey, where not only... Where is it? Is it this early in the game? Humanoid, always gets focused here. Boom, will fall, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter because Oscar is a beast and gets a solo kill against Chasey. That's what you like to see. The assassin champion Ornn taking a kill on the Rumble when Rumble should definitely have, in my opinion, the advantage in this matchup. So Oscar, 1.4k gold lead, and this game is quite straightforward. Fnatic, despite giving 2 kills in the mid lane and allowing Niski to take an advantage, still managed to control the map. Here we have it again, where Mad Lions try to go for the Herald, and there's the wombo combo in question where Chasey gets completely rooted. He can ult, but it doesn't matter because everyone is just stronger here on the side of Fnatic. Noah has a nice little angle to force Karzi out of the team fight, and Oscar's just so strong that he doesn't care. He goes forward, gets supported by Humanoid, who brings in the damage to kill the members of Mad Lions. And there's not much to say about this game. It's just Fnatic trolling the game from start to finish, having the better team fights, having the better comps. Here I'm not sure what Hylissang is doing, sort of running back and forth. He kind of ran it down the series, I'm not gonna lie. But, good stuff from Trimby, getting in front with the Unbreakable. And yeah, Mad Lions can do much here during this game. Fnatic unleashed a Herald, first dash, and a second dash that they combo into an ult. They get flanked, but it doesn't matter because, well, it's what I was talking about. It's the engage, disengage kind of situation. Oscar tries to make something happen under the tier 2 turret. They get flanked. Razork hits the ult, roots Niski so he can't get into Noah. Ayoya is rooted, so he also can't jump onto Noah. On the other side, Oscar and Humanoid try to manage the aggression. Trimby can just put his Unbreakable and not die. And Oscar is such a tanky motherfucker because he's so far ahead. He's just chilling. He's like, yeah, come to me. Boom. I'm not scared. Fight me. And Noah, who's, a big Lee Sin player and also likes to play jungle and solo queue, comes in and is like, hey, I'm gonna gank this lane, and comes in, boom, reduces everyone super low, and forces them to back off. Ayoya tries to make something happen, but again, Noah says, not on my watch. Converts this into a Baron, and I say it's such a great comp to manage the aggression, while also being able to bring in the engage, which is really what you want. You don't want to sort of funnel yourself into one single strat. And yeah, going forward, not much to say apart from Fnatic playing the game super well, playing to their strength, not giving away anything to Mad Lions, and closing the game very easily. Big team fight, clean everyone, GG. That was for game 1. Going into game 2, sort of a similar draft, at least for the top side. We get Jinx and Thresh for Trimby, who, as he's showcased before, is an insane Thresh and just hooks everyone on site. Some similar elements for Mad Lions with the Rumble and the Rel. They bring out the Vi, which is pretty good against somewhat immobile champions like the Jinx, to lock her down and try to create as much damage and separation as possible. I think the better pick from Mad Lions here is the Talia, especially into Jace, because she manages to sort of keep him at bay, prevent him from going all in into his hammer form if she just puts the terrain in front of him, and she can flip him back if needed. The Samira seems to be in the flavor of the month, but against a Maokai, a Thresh, and an Ornn, she's an unconventional ADC in the sense that she's a bit of a half marksman, half melee sort of champion, because she has to go in to hit is it fire trigger, whatever her ultimate is called. So definitely a bit harder to execute for Mad Lions. And in the same sense, Fnatic have a very good early game with the gank from Razork, who again makes it all happen through him. Good hook from Trimby onto Hillisang, rooted, smacked back, and a first blood for Noah, which is great to finally see Noah get some priority, which is not what we're seeing in week 1. So much happier to see that kind of action here. Razor gets caught here, just having a bit of a silly moment. Why is this in 4 ATP? There we go, much better. Whoops, sorry, finger slipped here. There we go. Even game, and for most of the time, Humanoid definitely gets hard focused. They bring in 4 people, which I guess it's fine for them because they have the Herald and they want to open mid, but it gives a lot of space for Ornn into the mid lane, and allows as well for Noah to keep pushing bot and get a few plates. Mad, do get a couple of Drakes, but not the end of the world for Fnatic, who keep steady and have a lot of options again into the late game with the Ornn, with the Jinx, and the Jace, which is definitely gonna be a major part in this game. As you can see here, not too fan of this team fight. Very good wall from Niski here to create even more of a funnel, despite the infernal Drake terrain, which is a bit more open. But make a separation for Humanoid, who tries to go in, has to flash, gets pushed aside by the Vital, like I said, who's trying to lock in Noah. Good stopwatch here to delay Noah's death, who flashes away, stays alive for a bit. Good, ult from Karzi, who tries to lay as much damage as he can, goes dash, but again, it's like he does this and then dies ultimately. So good double kill, but immediately gets close. So that's a bit the payoff with Samira that you have here. Here we have what Trimby is known for, which is create a lot of situations for Fnatic with his Fresh, where there's a good wombo combo with the Razork and Oscar ult. Hilliard tries to go in, but as you can see, he's here and his whole team is separated. Good chompers here to prevent more people coming in and getting into that back line. Hilliard-san, engages, gets completely separated. So boom boom here. Great hook by Trimby, who full length gets a catch on Alyoya, who tries to ult on Noah, and they lay the red carpet from Chasey on top. Who was it that built Locket? I think it was Oscar, right? Or Trimby. Trimby's just hitting all the hooks here. Look at that, amazing. Really makes the difference. Triple into a quadra for Humanoid, really making a difference. Like, it's the work that everyone talks about, obviously, the quadra from Humanoid, but look at the work that is done from Trimby just at the start of the game, start of the team fight. So the ult from Razork, wait, where is it? I'm trying to see. Yeah, so ult from Razork pushes everyone away. Healy tries to channel and Trimby tries to catch him there. Boom. Healy gets separated. Doesn't have his Hex Flash anymore. Has to re-engage. Gets separated. Trimby, boom. Delays the engage from Mad Lions and allows everyone to batter on Hillisang in the meantime, which means the moment they go into the moment they go into Noah, they're all very low. Karzi super low, tries to get the Inferno trigger, gets obliterated, boom boom, by Chase. And Trimby sees Niski on the side, we're getting in some trouble, boom, hooks him. So just gives so much space for Huma to deal damage. And there we go. Amazing work from Trimby here. Definitely a much closer game than prior, as the team fights go both ways. Mainly thanks to Niski, who I think played a formidable game on his Talia. It was a great pick into Fnatic's draft, and it did look close. It looked like Mad Lions were gonna win this one, as they starting to deepen the gold advantage here. But we're still going into 30-minute game. A lot of late game options here with Noah, the Ornn, the augments. I mean, I'm gonna repeat myself over and over, but here, good bit of map pressure from Fnatic, pushing the mid lane and sort of dividing the strengths from Mad Lions. Karzi is forced to catch the wave for Mad here that is being pushed in, which allows Fnatic to go in and sort of split them, saying, shit, we can't really fight this. Elyoya is low and the Baron is up. Elyoya tries to... I don't know what he's doing here. I mean, he's trying to evade, probably sees the ward and is like, shit, I have to group with my team, get closer to Niski, who's the strongest member. Good prediction by Oscar here. With the root, the ultimate towards the rest of the Mad Lions member, and managed to separate him again. Karzi does a good job here as well, as Fnatic tries to prevent Mad Lions from getting Infernal Soul, which definitely put Fnatic in a complicated situation. Karzi is doing some mirror things where he's definitely being a nuisance. Trimby doing his best again. Boom, hook into hook into hook. But Niski's just bobbing and weaving. The electro blast, whatever it's called. He's doing super well. Thing is, Karzi is still dead, and the rest of Mad Lions isn't here to secure. So, Mad Lions just making a lot of mistakes here, being too impatient, rather than just giving away the Infernal here. And trying to set up for Baron. Instead, just allows Fnatic back into the game when Mad Lions was finally starting to get some advantages, and then using that to pressure. Baron cannot be contested. Hylissang is half-life. Niski isolates himself, which is a bit weird because, yeah, he's definitely the one that Mad Lions want to concentrate on to win the game, but it doesn't matter because as they siege, Mad Lions just misposition over and over. Niski, I don't know what Niski does here. Elyoya tanks, and Niski gets hit by the second root. And at this point onwards, there's nothing that can be done. Hylissang, Elyoya down. 3v5. Niski comes back, gets caught again. I don't know what he's expecting to do. Trimby on Heat Seeker, hooks. Perfection. You try to get onto Noah, but Noah just survives. Too much peel for him. Very good build from Oscar here to allow Noah to not get destroyed straight away with the locket. I always forget how this item is called. Basically, the sort of healing AoE active item. And that's, I wouldn't say clean necessarily a second game, but another quadra kill for Humanoid. But a much better game here on this one. Going into the last final two games against SK. Very interesting GP pick and Annie pick. We're finally seeing some real gameplay for Razork and a nice little Xayah Rakan to have again the engage, disengage. No, whoops, sorry for the sound. Here got a bit more complicated as Irrelevant keeps playing super well and solo kills Oscar not once but twice. Which is a bit annoying, but it's fine because Gangplank is Gangplank and he's just gonna scale whatever you do to him, so unless you end the game rather quickly, it's not gonna happen. And Razork is very smart here, where he sort of leaves Oscar to his situation and instead goes for Drake, which allows them to sort of lengthen the game a little bit and avoid the trap of Oscar sort of being shut down by SK completely. Good TP from Humanoid as well to prevent Oscar from getting dove on and losing this massive wave and just ruining the game for him. Oscar reaches 6, which gives him access to his ultimate. It won't really matter because he'll get solo killed again. They instead try to focus on the bot lane, make stuff happen, and get those advantages. So really the story is Oscar being left alone, but just applying the GP passive so he can come even in gold eventually, and the rest of Fnatic making stuff happen onto the map. So, with so much pressure being put onto Oscar, where they send the bot lane onto him, they send the jungler and everything, it gave a lot more space for Noah this time to get some turret plays, to get some turrets, to get some farm. And as you can see, he's the one with the gold advantage compared to last week. And I think SK just put too much pressure on Oscar to be like, oh, we don't want to let this this GP scale and become a threat to us, because then they can't apply the pressure on the side lanes as they have the first time they met Fnatic, and this was their sort of strength into the first best of 3 of Fnatic versus SK. So this time, Fnatic is the one controlling the river, controlling the side lanes, and their great TP, great stumble onto Irrelevant, who was ahead, and who picks it up as Oscar, who gets the shutdown against Irrelevant, and now Oscar is back into the game. Just 100 gold, but given the advantage that was on to Irrelevant, basically the only way for SK to really dominate the game has been removed, and while they get the mid turret, it's still a clear advantage for Fnatic. SK cannot get the dives happen. They just all the doors are shut to them, and instead it's Fnatic making stuff happen on the map with Razork again, just constantly invading, creating pressure. Humanoid, great flank there onto Hexakick, which leads onto an immediate Baron, which is quite funny when you consider the fact that SK were the one to attack Baron immediately at the 20th minute. And this time, much more proactivity from Fnatic to actually go and get this Baron and chase everything else. DOS tries to peel for Certus, instead will be the sacrificial lamb and gives more space for Fnatic to go in, as they don't have Alistar to engage the team fight. Hexakick here, I don't know what you're doing, mate. There's engage upon engage. Boom, Oscar just parlays to your face and is a threat when he was 1k down and he's 1.5k ahead. That's the strength of GP into the late game. Irrelevant tries to catch some bounty, but it doesn't really matter. The late game is in full function for Fnatic, who controls the map from beginning to end. 26-minute game, super clean. Despite the dodgy start, no problem at all. They play to their strength, very good. Some more different picks here for Fnatic with the Rumble, with the Tristana, which again was great. Good Cassiopeia into the Tristana here. Interesting Scion. Now, while previous game was Oscar dying to Irrelevant, this time it's the other way around, with Oscar pushing into Irrelevant. Now, obviously, Irrelevant is playing the Scion into Rumble, so it's to be expected for him to be pushed on their turret. But the way Razork plays here, again, very aggressive. Plays the Trundle into Viego, which really goes into the favor of Razork here. Oscar reduces Scion into almost a quarter of his HP, if not a fifth of his HP, and must be saying to Razork, hey, if you want to come topside, it's all yours. Razork does very well to take away the blue, has a few camps bot lane still open to him, but isn't gonna bother with that. Instead is gonna push away the Viego off the second scuttle. So he's gonna chase him. Viego manages to secure it, but it doesn't matter because Markin has to run away as he's one level below. Irrelevant gets caught here. Pillar, bite, boom, goodbye. First blood for Oscar. Now, while all of that is very good, what happens is very weird. And I don't know if he tried to, if he tries to the bounce technique and say, either you chase me and try to get a kill, or you have to farm because there's a massive wave on their turret. But I think Oscar is very happy to, grab this little pillar from Razork, which slows down Irrelevant and prevents him from escaping. And not only Oscar gets a kill, but he's also going to catch the farm under his turret without sacrificing too much. Humanoid just doing Tristana things by pressuring Certus away from his turret. And the early game is played very well, especially when you consider that right after we have what's happening. A gank into the bot lane, Trimby comes in, auto attack, hook. Noah puts in the damage, and Razork start chasing onto DOS, but Hexakick here trades really well against Noah with the feather and roots him, which allows DOS to come back in and create a knockup. Why am I losing? Give me 1080 play, please. But good flash from Noah here. Gets the kill onto Hexakick before flashing, cleanse the ignite, and that's a beautiful double kill. And you're like, 2 kills on the top side, 2 kills for the ADC. Surely the game is over. 2k advantage at 7 minutes into the game. There's no way they come back. Well, that's where you're wrong, because Fnatic decides to make a bunch of mistakes happen and gave away 5 kills, I believe, if this game decides to load. So it's 1 kill onto the Lordless, who was clearing a ward. Then where is it? It's then it's a weird team fight onto the mid lane, where they see them onto a ward, and they're like, oh, we can take this fight and spot them. But what this does really is that it allows the Viego more and more back into the game. So there we go, and that's free. Despite the Drake secure, that's 3 kills for SK and a negative Baron power play for Fnatic, who kind of squanders their Baron as it's left on 2 members. So that's one of them. And later on, let me find that moment. Is it here? I'm very sorry for the very slow uploads. I'm not sure what's happening. Come on. My internet down, or am I downloading something? Is it here? There's the team fight. It's around here. Maybe if I close the other tabs. Come on, game, load for me. So again, it's a 6k, 7k advantage, and the problem here is there's 2 angles of engage. There's going to be DOS, and there's going to be Irrelevant with the Scion. So with this current comp, it's not as easy to have the engage-disengage situation. Noah gets caught immediately, misses the Twilight Vigil or something like this, Moonlight Vigil, and instead Irrelevant sort of bounces on this turret here, gets the engage onto Oscar, which doesn't allow him to ult, and instead they just pile on. Good ult from Certus, who locks in Noah, and it's the same situation where it's Markun v9, and it becomes very close here. Very good kill by Humanoid, but it doesn't really matter as this converts into a Baron for SK, and it feels kind of doomed for Fnatic from this point onwards, because we're going into the late game. Markun has GA, Certus is starting to get some items, and we're going into a late game Cassiopeia, as well as Irrelevant, who, despite the 5k gold lead, is starting to accumulate some items, which makes him a big tanky motherfucker. And there's a good siege from SK. So it's a situation of find a way to protect Noah, find a way to allow Humanoid to dish damage. And so we go into a bit of a lull state here where nothing happens, everything's to play for around the Drixel, where with the Ocean Soul becomes a bit more manageable for Fnatic to play these team fights. Doss here tries to have the same approach, knows he is spotted on the pink ward, so I'm not sure what he's trying to do here, but he's clearly seen, so Fnatic isn't going to be taken by surprise, and it's not going to be another situation of, oh, Doss getting a flank. So Train B goes in here very easily, prevents him from going in. Razork front lines, and Noah and Humanoid are, pretty safe here with the wall and Trimby frontlining. Doss goes in, but all 4 members here are slowed by the pillars, so you can't have Hexakick or Markun or Certus dishing damage as Doss gets the knock up. On top of that, Oscar gets a perfect ultimate onto the backline here, and they have to squander back. They're like, oh shit, look at this, you've got Hexakick sort of going away, Markun having to Spectroma away, and Certus is just taking damage for free. He's walking back into it. Look at this whole damage. Noah gets a good Moonlight Vigil here. Razork flashes, gets the pillar, and then one after the other, they just die here. Certus just waiting for it. Boom. Trimby, very smart, doesn't preoccupy himself with Certus. No, he's dead. So instead, jumps straight onto Markun. Boom. And I think what's smart here is that he doesn't layer all his CC onto Markun, where he's like, oh, auto him, hook him. He autos him for the root, but instead hooks Hexakick straight away to prevent him from doing any more damage. Gets deleted by Noah, and that's perfect because there's a good display of of focus here. Like Certus dies from the next auto attack. Oscar jumps straight onto Markun while he's rooted to deal as much damage as he can. Same for Humanoid, so they can put him in GA. And the moment he's in GA, they focus their attention onto Hexakick, so they're so the damage isn't split, and they don't allow Markun to do anything crazy with resets whatsoever. Markun gets expected here. Boom, 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 and that's game for Fnatic. Amazing. So, while it was a lot of a scrappy back and forth here, I think we can be quite happy. Oh, I'm in the dark here. We can be quite happy by the way it's been managed by Fnatic and the fact they secured a 2-0. So it's going to be an interesting fight against Team Heretics, which we can have a look at into our playoffs, where we've all voted overwhelmingly for Fnatic. Team Heretics versus Fnatic. I think Fnatic has the better tools to win versus Team Heretics, while Team Heretics has displayed good ways of coming back into the game. I think Fnatic has controlled their mid game a bit better into the second week and has done less silly mistakes where they've given advantage back to their opponents and made it much closer than it needed to be. The one where I'm more concerned is versus XL, because XL has shown what they're capable of against G2, and they have that strength of having good early games. So it's going to be a battle of the early games. My bias is going to give it to Fnatic the whole way because I really want to see them win it. So for me, it's a case of snowball. If they win against Team Heretics and they win against XL, then they're in a good momentum to win against G2, who has shown they can bleed. And if they can bleed, they can die. So it's not impossible to actually win versus G2. I think they're definitely reachable. There's only been one game of Fnatic versus G2 this split, and it was just a case of Fnatic getting punished for bad early game execution and G2 just snowballing into that. I do think Fnatic has improved there. So just like last week, if we have good practice coming in, that's great. And I think that's going to give us a massive advantage going into the final week. The fact that they brought in Gax from Team Heretics, what am I talking? From Team Kesso, definitely helps them and allows, I think, more focus into Oscar, who is going to be a pillar, especially into this final week, going in against very strong top laners like Odo Amne and potentially Broken Blade if they make it all the way to finals. So, you know, the more staff, the more preparation, the more angles, the more eyes we can have onto the game, the better we're looking. So there's already been a definite improvement after 1 week. Adding a second week, I'm hoping we go further on what has been applied after the group stage and executing those protocols that Nightshare spoke about. You know, the fact he's saying there's the processes that they've installed during the first weeks of group stage, and to the second week of group stage and to the first few games, where it's like, this is how we want to execute it. So, you know, follow the line here, and I hope we see much more of that going into the final week. The fact that we've brought in different picks as well, diversity with the Tristana, the Jace, the Rumble, the Rails, all of that, and we're able to execute them properly, gives me a lot of hope going into those games. So, you know, hoping we see Fnatic lift the shield. I can't see I guess it's a trophy, but it's called a shield. Unfortunately, I'm probably gonna miss the game on Saturday because I'm going again to a concert, and on Sunday I'll be on holiday. So hopefully, I'll be at my vacation spot in time to watch the game and be in a position to watch the game. Yeah, that's all. But yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those are the games. And that is going to conclude our final podcast of the summer split. And this is where I say thank you very much for having supported the podcast this whole time, during the whole split, during the previous splits. For those watching on YouTube, those watching live, those watching the VOD, either here on Twitch or on YouTube, appreciate it. Follow all the accounts. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see in the show. What you like, what you dislike. It helps me improve, and it helps me provide you with a better podcast. Enjoy the games this weekend, guys. Hope the weather is nice. And as always, always Fnatic. Bye-bye.